It's a year since we were last here at the Bass AGM.
That's right.
And you were talking about what we need to do to keep things moving in terms of getting better protection for our bass. So,
what a year it's been, you have to say. I mean, there's a huge amount of activity going on. Not just what the EU have brought in terms of new regulations in 2015 and now for 2016. But when you look behind the scenes, I talked last year about, what are we trying to do? We're trying to eat an elephant here, and how do we eat it one bite at a time? And we're doing really well at that. But I think it's interesting. I was thinking, well, if you're going to eat an elephant one bite at a time, how do you eat it faster? You get some help. And it's really noticeable how over the last year, a lot more organisations have come in and are helping on the science front, helping on politics and policy, helping individuals raise the issue out in the media. We've just been here listening to a presentation from CFAS on the sea bass project, which is bringing up some really new, interesting information about the movement of bass up and down the English Channel, into the Celtic Sea, down off the coast of Brittany, up into the North Sea. It's new, it's novel. It's £250,000 that DEFRA have given CFAS in 2013 to study this, so they find out what's going on about bass. We've had debates in the Houses of Parliament, getting MPs involved. We've got the IFCAs heavily involved and DEFRA heavily involved on review of bass nursery areas. We've got the BBC picking it up on Countryfile, national, 8 million viewer TV programme, BBC radio stations around the coast as well, picking it up. We've got Blue Marine Foundation organising workshops to try and understand and figure out if there's a solution to better management between anglers and commercials. Bass conservation, what it means to anglers, what our fishing for bass means to the country, is on an awful lot of agendas now. When you go back 5 years, when I first started trying to contribute and help, when there was nothing happening, nobody was talking about it, there was no policy, politicians didn't know, whatever work was going on at a very low level in the scientific organisations, the funding was being cut. We are in a dramatically different place, and I firmly believe the more the evidence gets out there about the state of the bass stocks, the difference between anglers and our impact on bass and commercials, and the difference between the value of angling for bass to the country that own the bass and the value from commercials, the more that information gets out, the more people, politicians, policymakers will understand the need for action and the need actually to act to give us a much fairer, a much better slice of this cake. So I think it's all really good. As ever, politics for me moves too slowly. It is too little too late, but we are very much moving in the right direction. There's a lot more, I'm sure, to come, and we are going to get there, which is great news actually.
And what can we continue to do to keep pushing to get there quicker?
Thank you, Matt. That's a great question, because ultimately it does come down to politicians and they need to take decisions. And I was talking this morning about how we give politicians more backbone, because they need backbone, they need spine to actually go further, go faster. And they get their backbone from people, from members of the public, anglers, voters, go and talking to them, see them face to face, write to them, MPs, MEPs, IFCAs as well, DEFRA, engage with them, tell them we're a bass angler and we want more and we want bigger bass. And we don't anymore. 5 years ago, you would have to explain about the issue and you'd have to try and persuade them that there was a stock problem. You'd have to try and persuade them there were 900,000 anglers in bass and our favourite fish to catch was bass and we were worth billions to the economy. You don't need to persuade them of that anymore. That is all known. If they don't know it and there's an MP, they'll very rapidly be able to find out. So you don't need to actually persuade them of all those issues. You just need to tell them, I'm an angler, I'm a bass angler, and I want more and bigger bass, and I want you to start doing something about it.
Brilliant.
And that will help hugely.
And one of the reasons these MPs already start to know a lot more about it is through your work, David. and SOS Bass and various other things you've been involved in campaigning.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been working really well. I have to say the Angling Trust have been doing sort of a great job. I think they were instrumental in getting the discussion in the House of Commons sort of a month or so ago. Really big campaigning effort, and I think we're working well together. It's probably worth just sort of dwelling on what has actually happened in the last year. Some really major successes, and I think we have to sort of recognise those and celebrate those. I had people telling me, well, the problems of French pear trawlers, you'll never stop those French pear trawlers. And we're now in the position, the French trawlers were going to stop in 2015. There are no French trawlers, well, we hope there are no French trawlers, if they are, they're out there illegally, sort of now. The minimum conservation reference size, you know, we've been pushing for that as an organisation for years and years. We had a major setback in 2007 when we thought we were going to get it, but you know, we finally got it. It's not as much as we want. You know, we wanted 48, we've got 42, but you know, that's a very good sort of start. It's a positive step. We've got vessel catch limits in. You know, they're higher than we want them to be, but we've still got them, and we now have the ability. We can start working on the politicians to try and ratchet those limits down. And we've got a moratorium. I mean, as we sort of stand here now, there's no fishing, no bass being landed across Northern Europe. And that's a fantastic thing. So I think it sort of demonstrates that the campaigning really is worthwhile, and it really makes a difference. And everyone can sort of play a part in it, sort of one way or another. You know, even if it's only just take a few minutes, go onto the Save Our Sea Bass website, and you know, whatever the current sort of push we're having, you know, sort of send an email to the EU fisheries ministers. It only takes a minute, and we're hearing back from the EU Commission. They really appreciate the feedback they're getting from anglers, yeah. And they're recognising that recreational anglers sort of care for the stock. It makes a big impact, and it empowers them to sort of turn around to the likes of the UK fisheries minister and stand up to them and say, well, no, hang on, we're hearing the other side of the story. You know, we have to be protecting these stocks, not just protecting commercial fishing profits. So yeah, I'd encourage everyone to sort of get involved, because things are changing. We can actually see that we're making a difference.
Yeah, so all those involved are doing a brilliant job, and we just need even more people.
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we should actually thank everybody that's been involved in the last 5 years. It's that involvement that has got us where we are now. You know, DEFRA wouldn't have spent £250,000 on the study that we've just been hearing about today if we hadn't been all badgering them and telling them and making them understand the importance. So it's fantastic. Keep it up, and it'll keep getting better.
Brilliant. And you guys keep up your brilliant work as well.
Okay. So. Thanks very much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.